So let's first discuss the modeling of a single degree of freedom system using ETABS. And let's say that we are given with a mass which is fixed lump mass, and let's say we are also given with the K, the stiffness, the lateral stiffness of that single degree of freedom system. So if we are given with, for example, a single degree of freedom system like this, that I have two columns here, and this is the fixed support, and let's say all the mass of that single degree of freedom system is lumped at this location, and that mass is, let's say, given, and the lateral stiffness provided by these two columns is also given. So let's have a quick demonstration of how we can actually represent this mass and stiffness and basically model this single degree of freedom system using ETABS. So just a quick review that we can have in ETABS these two columns and one beam, and that beam will have all the mass, and there are several assumptions which we make when we formulate the mathematical model for single degree of freedom system. And these assumptions are, and by the way, these assumptions we have to use in ETABS also in order to actually develop a single degree of freedom model which will work consistent with our analytical model which we are using here. So first assumption in constructing this single degree of freedom is that mass, the whole mass of the system is lumped at the beam only. So which means that no mass in the columns and whole mass is lumped at the beam level only. The second assumption was that the column are flexible in lateral direction but rigid in vertical direction. So which means that the columns here, they cannot have any axial extension or shortening in vertical direction. That is not allowed. The only stiffness which column can provide is the lateral stiffness, because this single degree of freedom system is supposed to vibrate in a lateral direction only. Similarly, beam is rigid in lateral direction. The beam itself, this top member, is not allowed to have any axial elongation or shortening. It is rigid in that. So it is just acting as a mass, as a rigid mass. Similarly, no rotational degrees of freedom for beams, so no rotations allowed at any point. Only one horizontal vibration is allowed. And then lastly, two-dimensional analysis. The single degree of freedom system can only vibrate in one lateral direction and not out of the plane or into the plane. So all of these assumptions which we have used to develop our analytical model, mathematical model, we must also use in ETABS also if we want to develop a comparable or equivalent model to apply different dynamic loadings and then get the results which are comparable with the analytical results. So let's start developing an ETABS single degree of freedom model. Two columns, one beam, and we will set the geometry of that single degree of freedom system and material density, etc., such that the total mass of the system will be equal to what is required, what is given and used in our analytical model, and also the total stiffness also will be comparable and equivalent to our analytical model. We will set the cross-sectional dimensions, material properties, etc., such that the total K for our structure in ETABS model is equal to what is given and directly used in the mathematical model analytically. So I will quickly show you this model which I have developed, and I have fulfilled all of these assumptions in developing this model. So it is two columns supported on one beam. Let me show the extruded view from here. So I extrude frames so that they are clearly visible. So these are two concrete columns, and this is one beam, and I will go one by one with all of the assumptions. First of all, the mass should be lumped at the story level or beam level only. This assumption is fulfilled by going to define and mass source, and in mass source you have to basically define the source of the mass matrix, or in this case there will be only one mass lumped at the center of beam. So here you can see that the element self mass is checked, and the option for lump lateral mass at story level is also checked. So the software will basically lump the whole mass of the system at this level, and the mass will be coming only from elements self mass. So if we use these options, we also have to ensure that columns have no mass. Columns have no mass, and all of the mass which is given and which we want to use in our single degree of freedom system should basically come from this beam. So let's click OK, and first assumption is now is kind of represented in ETABS now. Another assumption is that the columns are massless. So, but we still have to give some cross sections of the columns, because those will primarily represent the or make the stiffness of the column. So we cannot give all 0 dimensions to a column. So what we can do is that we define a section property, and that section property is, let's say, given a name which is this one, columns. I can modify it. I just developed it now, but I can modify it now. And from the property modifiers here, I can put these two numbers, mass and weight modifier, as 0. When I define these two numbers as 0, the columns will have no mass basically, but they will still have some stiffness based on the cross-sectional dimensions and geometry. So I defined some depth and width, and that I will explain in a moment that how I calculated. They are basically given the numbers which will exactly make those stiffness which is required for our single degree of freedom system. So this way, by putting the mass and weight modifier equal to 0 for column cross section, we can make the columns as massless. So the only mass is now with the beams, with this only beam basically. The second assumption was that columns are flexible in lateral direction but rigid in vertical direction. So what I did here is that I go to the same define section properties and frame sections and go to columns. This is the cross section which I have assigned to these two columns, and then I can modify it and go to property modifiers, and here you can see that I have make all the other degrees of freedom other than the moment of inertia, all other degrees of freedom I give the 0 stiffness modifier. So cross-sectional area I give 0, shear area in both directions and torsional constant also, the modifier is 0. So basically what I am essentially doing is that I am removing all other stiffnesses from these columns, only lateral stiffness. So other remain 1, and moment of inertia about 2 and 3 remain 1. In fact, even from these 2 and 3, you can check the local axis for these two columns, and only that local axis in which the primarily columns will bend, that number should remain 1. So if it is local 2 axis, local 3 can still be made equal to 1. So 2 and 3 are basically the lateral direction in this elevation view and the into the paper or out of the paper direction. The into the paper or out of the paper direction we will simply constrain by using a two-dimensional analysis. So the only degree of freedom left for this system will be the lateral degree of freedom. So columns are made massless, and now they have only lateral stiffness in the direction under consideration. Beam is rigid in lateral direction. So beam cannot extend, or it cannot, you can say, uh, elongate under lateral forces. So that you can go and you can basically define a beam basically, and then go to the frame sections, and this is the cross section which I have assigned to this only beam. I can go to modify and property modifiers, and here what I did is that I have uh, given not zero, basically I should give a very high values of these you can say property modifiers, so that it becomes so stiff, that stiff that it cannot bend, it cannot rotate, it cannot have any axial elongation or shortening. It will just act as a rigid mass. So these numbers, which are by the way uh, default numbers are 1, we can make it, let's say, 100, a very big number. So the stiffness is multiplied with 100, so it is very, you can say, a rigid beam. So it is just acting as a mass. The mass and weight modifiers are 1, and then you can click OK, and here also OK. Now this the length of the beam, this dimension, and height of the column, they basically, along with the cross-sectional dimensions, will decide about the mass and stiffness. So they will basically come from the required mass which we want to use in your single degree of freedom system or model in your single degree of freedom system, and the required stiffness. So by giving a very high stiffness to our beam, we have basically uh, kind of make it very rigid in any rotational or translational degree of freedom. One more assumption is that we will not allow any out of the plane movement for this 2D frame. So it will only be vibrating or oscillating in plane of that single degree of freedom system. So for 2D analysis, we can go to analyze, and here you have set active degrees of freedom, the second option, and then you can check for different 2D analysis if you want. So for example, by default, full 3D analysis with all single degree of freedoms are checked. So if you click this one, all of the 6 degrees of freedom will be checked. But since I have developed this frame in XZ plane only, and I want to analyze this structure only in XZ plane, so I can go for this second option and I click OK. So it unchecked those degrees of freedom which are in the out of plane direction. And those are basically Uy, the translational degree of freedom in Y direction, which is the out of plane direction, and the rotation about X and Z, which are also in the out of plane direction. The rotation about Z, the rotation about Y are in plane, so therefore they are checked. One option we can further do here is we can even uncheck UZ and RY. So the only degree of freedom left will be UX. So that's how we can constrain our single degree of freedom system to not have any other movement other than UX. Since we have already used other assumptions which will not allow this frame into bending, it will not allow any axial shortening, etc. So we can just leave it as it is, otherwise we can just uncheck these two also. Both options can be used. So now I think we have satisfied the basic assumptions which are compatible with the mathematical model we used for single degree of freedom system. So now let's go to the dimensions which we have to use for this single degree of freedom system. The target mass and the target stiffness. So I think let's say that we are given with this mass 4000 kg, and we know the density of concrete already, because if you go to define and materials, so there are 4 default materials, so you can go for this 4000 psi, and it has a density already. So let's use that density to calculate the dimensions of that beam which will result in the same mass which we want to model in our single degree of freedom system. So we just use the same density, 2402.77 kilogram per meter cube. So here I just use that density, and the length also I fix to 5 meter. So this length of the single degree of freedom system is 5 meters. So using this length and the density, I can come up with the cross-sectional dimensions of this beam. So here I just set those cross-sectional dimensions which I just want to use in ETABS, and those dimensions will result in that volume, and basically multiplied with that density, it will give the same mass which is required. So this height and depth of the beam is calculated basically from this targeting the mass, because we know that the only mass which is coming in our single degree of freedom system is coming from beam. So we have to calculate the dimensions such that we get that mass. For columns, they are massless and they will provide us the stiffness. So for columns also, we, let's say, first fix the height of the column. Height is 3 meters. So with 3 meter height, let's calculate those cross-sectional dimensions which will give us the required stiffness. So K required is, let's say, this one, and then we already know the analytical stiffness which is provided by one column. So with given length and with given E value for concrete, let's assume that the columns are also made of concrete. With given E and L, we can calculate the given cross-sectional property, which is the moment of inertia. Now we have to set those B and H, which will result in this moment of inertia. There can be different cross-sectional shapes and different sizes you can try, but the cross-sectional property I should be equal to this target number. This will ensure that the result ultimate K which we required is this one. So using this way, we can come up with the target moment of inertia, and then we can set different dimensions to get the same K. So using this way, I can finalize the beam cross-sectional dimensions and columns cross-sectional dimensions. So that's how I just fix their lengths, 5 meter and 3 meter, and then I calculated the cross-sectional dimensions. So that's how I have defined these cross-sectional properties. These columns, these numbers will result in the target moment of inertia. You may have different combinations, you may have different cross-sectional shapes also, but I just went for the simplest case, rectangular cross-section. And for beam also, I just defined a rectangular cross-section with these dimensions. These will result in the same mass which we want to model in our single degree of freedom system. So with this, all of these assumptions and all of these cross-sectional dimensions, we can now run the modal analysis, and this single degree of freedom system will have only one time period, and that should be close to the analytical time period which we are having. So we can, I think, run the modal analysis now. So the default modal load case, which is already using the eigen analysis, that will run for this system, and then we can compare its time period with the analytical time period. Once those time periods are matched, we can use it to predict the behavior of this system in future loading. So here you can see that I go for the mode 1 and I click OK. So when you just directly click run, it will not only run the modal analysis, it will also run the dead load, I think. So the default load cases you can see here, dead, live, and the modal analysis also will be there, which is from define and modal cases. So from this is a default case, so you can modify it and check some of the options here. So the time period which it is showing for only single mode, the only mode which is in this structure is 0.31 seconds. So we can now compare it with the analytical value. The analytical value is 0.314, which is basically coming from 2 pi under root m over k. So you can see this expression 2 pi under root m over k, and the time period which ETABS is providing is very close, almost equal. So now once we are confirmed that the single degree of freedom system actually represent what we basically developed as our mathematical model, then it is now ready to just run for the any loading, and then you can compare that result with the analytical results of any loading. You were asked for one of the assignments to compare the response of this single degree of freedom system against harmonic loading or periodic loading or impulse loading. So now once you calibrate the single degree of freedom system with your analytical time period, then it can be used to you can say apply any loading and then compare with the analytical results. So for harmonic loading, you can calculate the analytical results for any given P naught and omega bar. You can calculate the peak value of response. Basically the harmonic response is given by these expressions. You know that the steady state response is equal to the amplitude times the sine omega bar t minus theta p, where amplitude is the static displacement P naught over k times the dynamic amplification factor. So everything is known from loading side, which is basically P naught and omega bar, and let's say everything is known from structure side, mass, stiffness and damping ratio. You can use these numbers to calculate the response, steady state response against harmonic loading. So here I plotted basically for some sample P naught and omega bar, plotted the steady state response. Now depending upon this theta p, the force and the response may or may not be in phase. If theta p is 0, then the applied force and the steady state response are exactly in phase. But if theta p has some number, this is phase lag basically. So if theta p is some number, so you will see that the force and the resulting response are not in phase. Currently theta p is very low number, 0 point something, but if we change these numbers and they result in significant value for theta p, which is tan inverse this number, then we can see that the response and the applied loading will not be exactly in phase. The peak of the applied loading may not match with the peak of the displacement. So it depends on beta value basically and xi value, because theta p is tan inverse 2 xi beta over 1 minus beta square. So beta is basically omega bar over omega. So it depends on the frequency ratio, that what is the frequency of applied loading and what is the frequency of structure itself. So I think you can now apply any kind of loading, harmonic, periodic, impulse loading from define and then functions. And here the software has the capability to define different kinds of dynamic loadings, basically different functions, and then you can assign these functions to any loading. And then you can extract results after running, and then those results should match with your analytical values, because your time period is matching. So the only primary parameter which governs the dynamic response of a system, single degree of freedom system, is its time period. If the time period of analytical structure and the software is matching, then you can use it for further prediction of response.